All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're breaking down the perfect storm that just tore through the crypto markets, vaporizing billions of dollars in what felt like minutes. And if you think you know the reason why, trust me, you're probably looking in the wrong place. So on February 1st, 2026, a massive shockwave absolutely hammered the crypto market. But here's the twist. The story of this collapse, it doesn't actually start on the blockchain. It starts with a huge crack forming in the foundation of the traditional financial world. If you had to pick just one word to describe the feeling in the market right now, it would be this: tan khốc. It's Vietnamese for brutal. And that's the word traders were spamming everywhere, trying to capture the feeling of this absolute bloodbath. In just a matter of hours, over $2.5 billion in leveraged long positions were completely and totally liquidated. Just gone. An entire class of traders just got wiped clean off the map. And the carnage was absolutely everywhere. Bitcoin just plunged below $76,000, which erases every single gain made since the last presidential inauguration. Think about that. Ethereum was bleeding out even faster, dropping almost 10%, with Solana not far behind. And if you want a perfect picture of just how bad this drop was, here it is. When even one of the market's biggest, loudest bulls, Michael Saylor, sees his entire corporate Bitcoin treasury fall into the red, you know this is not just some minor dip. Okay, so let's really dig in here, because to get what just happened, you have to stop looking at the crypto charts for a second. The spark for this whole inferno, it wasn't lit on chain. Nope, it was lit on Wall Street and in Washington, D.C. Two massive punches from the outside world hit at almost the same time, creating this huge risk-off panic across all markets. First, a major U.S. bank just completely failed, out of nowhere. And second, political gridlock in Washington forced a partial government shutdown. Now, that bank failure wasn't just some isolated event. It immediately kicked off these deep fears of financial contagion. We're talking about a potential $337 billion hole from unrealized losses that could threaten the entire banking system. And you bet that panic spilled over into crypto, and it spilled over fast. So let's shift gears and look at the crypto ecosystem itself, because this is where we see how that tidal wave of fear from the outside world triggered its own brutal chain reaction on chain. As if the news from the real world wasn't bad enough, bam, a major security breach hits the Solana ecosystem. The DeFi platform Step Finance got hacked for a staggering $27 million. I mean, that attack basically poured gasoline on an already raging fire. The platform's own token, Step, immediately just cratered, falling over 80%, and that sent these shockwaves of fear and doubt through the entire DeFi world. What's really fascinating here is what this tells us about how investors act under extreme pressure. This is a classic flight to safety. As the panic set in, you saw capital just gush out of the riskier altcoins, all of it looking for a safe place to hide. And where did it go? It went to Bitcoin, pushing its market dominance up to over 59%. So, with all this chaos, how did different people in the market react? Well, the on-chain data paints a really, really clear picture of two totally different stories. So, just how scared is the market? The good news is we don't have to guess. There's a metric for this. And let me tell you, right now, it is screaming at the top of its lungs. The Crypto Fear and Greed Index, which basically takes the market's pulse, has collapsed to a reading of just 14. That signifies extreme fear, and it is officially the lowest, most terrified the market has been all year. And this right here is the classic story, the Great Divide. The on-chain data shows us that smaller retail traders are absolutely panic selling, running for the exits at the fastest rate we've seen in months. At the exact same time, the biggest holders, the mega whales, are doing the exact opposite. They are quietly buying this dip, scooping up Bitcoin while everyone else is freaking out. Okay, so here's the crucial point. What happens next might have very little to do with traders and everything to do with politicians. The fate of the entire market now rests pretty heavily on decisions being made in Washington. All eyes are on three critical events. First, who's going to be the next Fed chair? Second, a new piece of legislation that could totally reshape DeFi regulation. And third, the most immediate one, a high-stakes vote to end the government shutdown. So the nominee for Fed chair, Kevin Warsh, is this huge wild card. On one hand, he's a known supporter of a central bank digital dollar, a CBDC, which many in crypto see as a major threat. But at the same time, he's on record expressing respect for Bitcoin's potential. So his policy could be a total poison pill for the market, or it could be pure rocket fuel. And all of this brings the market to a massive fork in the road. The immediate future really hinges on two possible outcomes: the result of that budget vote tomorrow morning and any early signals we get from the potential new head of the Federal Reserve. And look, the stakes could not be higher. If Congress fails to pass that budget, we could easily see another 10% just wiped off the market. But on the flip side, a surprisingly dovish, friendly statement from Warsh on crypto, that could be the exact rocket fuel needed to ignite a massive recovery, maybe even sending prices screaming back toward $85,000. So what's the big takeaway from all this? It's that in today's market, the threats are coming from literally everywhere, from old world failing banks to new world AI trying to steal your keys. In an environment like this, the name of the game is just one thing: survival. And that leaves us with one last really provocative thought to chew on. In a crisis that started, remember, not in crypto, but in the traditional system with a failing bank and a paralyzed government, where do you really find a safe haven? Is Bitcoin the enemy here, or is it slowly becoming the only lifeboat left?